This is The Guide Gals, a modern, wedding-focused podcast by the experts at Here Comes the Guide. I'm Chelsea, a designer and inspired creative who's probably racked up over 7,000 hours on Pinterest and the friend who's going to shoot it to you straight.
And I'm Caroline, a social media manager who is obsessed with dogs as ring bearers and will inevitably cry over your wedding video. We've seen it from all sides. We've been brides, planners, bridesmaids, and have worked with standout brands throughout the industry.
Think of us as an extension of your wedding party and hang out with us as we share the ins, outs, ups, and downs of the road to I do.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Guide Gals podcast. Today we are talking all about red flags to look out for while you're wedding planning.
Yes, so obviously by now you're probably getting into your wedding planning journey, or if you've just started, that's great too. Actually, that's even better to be listening to this before you've even started. But by now, you probably know that planning a wedding involves working with lots of different people and lots of different vendors, so different business owners, and you're paying them for their services. So, and this is a once in a lifetime experience too. So you want to be on the lookout for those red flags to make sure that you don't get taken advantage of and to make sure that your experience is a really positive one.
Yeah, and there's so much excitement that goes on in this process. Obviously, it's a really fun thing. It's exciting. You maybe have been waiting for this for so long. And it's easy to put on those rose-colored glasses and ignore some of these red flags. But it's really good to be cognizant of them because, yeah, we don't want you to get taken advantage. We want you to take these precautions and not be overly trusting.
Yes, I tend to be overly trusting at times, but yeah, it is really easy to get taken advantage of in different situations. So as we go through these potential red flags that you could possibly see as you're planning your wedding, just make a mental note of these things, keep them in the back of your head, and always approach with caution, I would say.
Yeah. And we're as excited as we are to get into some of these red flags. I'm also excited to know what is on the beverage menu today. Chelsea, what are we drinking?
Yeah, for Chelsea, it's not anything revolutionary. It's home coffee in the same cup that I had in the last episode. I've started putting them in this, the insulated one, the to-go cup. I never drink my coffee fast enough. It always gets cold, so...
That's a good
point. This is a completely not revolutionary life hack for you that you've heard of before. So,
mine was an iced coffee. The ice has since melted. Before we even hit record, Chelsea and I just sit here and talk because we're really good at yapping.
Yeah.
So it has since melted, but it's really good. It is just a vanilla iced coffee, but it has real vanilla bean in it. So I don't know that. Oh no, there's a cat hair. Okay, well, cool. That's how it's going for me today. Get that out of there, and I'll enjoy it with my real vanilla bean.
Yeah, I'm gonna be totally honest with you. Even before the cat hair, that does not look appetizing at all.
No, it doesn't.
I'm really happy that you like it.
It's very good,
but that looks kind of bad.
Yeah, I think it's because it got so watered down, and you can see the vanilla bean pieces in it, so it just looks like there's coffee grounds swirling around in there.
Not that mine looks or sounds amazing, but
it looks so much prettier with all the ice in it and this clear jar. But this is doing nothing to hold that fold in there. Yeah, but it is good. It tastes good.
What you need an insulated mug. So in this episode, we are going to list out some of the most common red flags that we have heard of happening in this industry that people have told us about. So these are things that you should be on the lookout when you're vetting your vendors that you're going to hire for your wedding.
And we do want to make a quick disclaimer here that yes, most vendors have nothing but the best in mind for you. Wedding professionals really do want to make your vision come to life and want to be there every step of the way with you. But there are just enough people, stories, vendors that we've heard of that ruin it for everybody else. And just keeping an eye out. But disclaimer, most people really do want the best for you in the long run. Yeah.
Yeah, but there's always got to be one person to ruin it for everybody else.
Yeah. Yeah. And big time ruin it.
And
some people.
This is why we can't have nice things.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, red flag number 1 to look out for is if you see a vendor charging significantly lower than the average, or you see discounts for a pay in full option or an all cash payment option. So I'm going to dive into this a little bit. Something to remember and to live by is that if something is really cheap, there's probably a reason for that. It's probably low quality. It's probably bad. So yeah, always be leery of that. I think with like literally everything, like you get what you pay for, truly, most of the time. But there are other factors why some professionals might charge more than others. It could have to do with their experience level. These are all things that you want to weigh out, use your best judgment on. But they could be charging a lot less because they have less experience. This isn't always a bad thing. Everybody starts somewhere, but you want to make sure that you understand that part of it. Do they have professional equipment? So, a lot of times vendors will up their prices and charge more of like a luxury amount because they have a lot of equipment that they use that costs them a lot of money to purchase initially and to maintain. So examples of that are obviously like tech equipment for photographers, videographers, DJs, bands, like any of that. But there's even upkeep that goes along with all of that stuff. Maybe caterers, like maybe they have to have a mobile kitchen of sorts. Like there's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes, a lot of hidden costs behind the scenes that you don't necessarily see. You just see what you're getting as the delivered product there. So something else to think about. You also want to consider, do they have solid or legitimate business practices? Yeah, like are they a professional? Once again, like take all of these things with a grain of salt, weigh them out, but moral of the story there, if something costs very little, there's probably a reason for that. And you might be saving yourself headaches and better off if you just pay a little bit extra. And then I know I mentioned those discounts that you might see for like a pay in full option or all cash payment option. So this sounds like a great way to save money. And this isn't always like automatically like, oh, there's a discount to pay in full or there's a discount to pay in cash, like stay away. Like not always, but it might be something to kind of approach with caution just because, and this is something to approach with caution for sure if you're seeing this and other things that you are revealing as a red flag, maybe just turn it in another direction. Paying in full at the time of booking means that that vendor has all of your money right away. And you have very little power if they ghost you, especially if you paid all in cash, because there's likely not a clear record of that payment. So it's very easy to get taken advantage of or scammed in that way. If you, pay all of the money up front, they might not actually be a wedding vendor. They might be a scammer or something.
Yes.
I mean, I would hate to think that even could happen, but it's just something, like I said, make a mental note, keep these things in the back of your head because we have heard of these things happening to people.
Absolutely. And it's so sad when it does, but like, yeah,
Yeah.
it's those people who ruin it for everybody. Then red flag number 2 is that they are not very communicative. This is something that I think is really important to note because if you're having trouble getting in contact with them initially, that's kind of a red flag because then once you pay them, you're just hoping that they're going to communicate better with you. And communication really is key when you're working with anybody towards your wedding day. Like you want to make sure that they have all the details, they're giving you the details that you need, that they can work well with the other vendors who are part of your team. You want to be able to find a good communication method that works for you. Like if they only communicate through Facebook Messenger, like maybe that's not the best thing ever. You want to really feel like a top priority in this. So you don't want to have to continually bug people, like send out your inquiry and then wait a while, then send another thing to be like, hey, did you get this? I have known so many people who have not booked with someone purely because they aren't communicative. So if you're a vendor and you're listening to this episode, make sure that you are responding to inquiries really quickly. I had a friend who really was set on this one photographer, and then this photographer didn't reach back out to her until she raised her prices. And that was something that my friend was like, one, you didn't communicate with me. If you told me like, hey, I'm going to be raising my prices soon, so either book quickly or whatever, she still would have probably booked with them. But the fact that they didn't communicate to begin with and then seemed a little bit shady about raising their prices just was bad all over. And she was like dead set on this person. So definitely something to keep in mind from a couple's perspective. Like if you're booking the vendor, communication is key. And if you're a vendor listening to this, communication is key. to booking.
Yeah, it really is. Like if they're not responding to you before you've even made a payment, you should feel like they're excited to have the potential to talk to you or, have the potential to work with you. So if they're not communicating well with you right off the bat before you've even given them any money, how could you possibly expect them to get any better or to communicate with you once you've paid them? Like, I mean, really. And like Caroline said, make sure that you find a communication method that works well for you and that makes you feel good. Like if the only way that you're talking to your wedding photographer is over like Facebook Messenger, like that's weird. Like you should be able to, if you want to, have a phone call with them or have a Zoom meeting with them, be able to talk to them face to face, because this is not just like a plain old transaction. This is capturing your love story, and it's so personal and it's so special and it really is once in a lifetime. So yeah. And at the end of the day, these people are invited to your weddings. Like, you want to like them.
Yeah.
They will be there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, another red flag to look out for. This one might seem obvious, but like really, for real, make sure you're looking this up. No reviews or bad reviews. So, of course, everyone starts somewhere. Like I said before, someone might be a newer vendor and they might not have a ton of experience, or maybe they're a photographer who did family photography forever and now they just started a new business as a wedding photographer, and they're great. They're super talented. They have relevant experience, but maybe they don't. So yeah, I mean, there are cases where people might not have a ton of reviews out there, but you want to do your due diligence and you want to look for these things. So yeah, I mean, any business of any kind with not a lot of reviews out there at all, there's probably like a less than amazing reason for that. And then, of course, if you see a vendor and they have like really bad reviews, just walk in the other direction. Like for real, don't just go away. You don't need to work with them. There's plenty out there, plenty of people that you can work with. And like I said, that might seem obvious, but sometimes people don't check for these things. Like sometimes you're on Instagram and you see this beautiful, I keep using photography as an example, but you see like all of this beautiful work and you want pictures like that. You want to make sure that you actually check all of those boxes, look for reviews. Because once again, yeah, every vendor, not every vendor, but a lot of vendors that you work with are going to be part of your wedding day.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Okay. Red flag number 4 is that they don't have backup systems in place. While it sounds scary, it's always a possibility that any vendor that you book could get sick or have unforeseen circumstances come up. I know of some photographers who had to come up with backup plans because they got pregnant, and then whatever weddings they booked around the time that they were due, they had backup plans in place for everything. So experienced and professional vendors will have those backup systems in place. They will be thinking that far in advance, and they should share this information with you. And this is something you can definitely ask about before booking. In fact, we recommend that. That's a good thing to talk about. Like, okay, what do you do in these unforeseen circumstances? Like, can I look at the person who is like your backup, or who, whoever works with you? Many of these people will have trusted industry friends that they will have in their back pocket for these emergency situations. Like maybe you already have a second shooter as a photographer. I know I use photographers as an example a lot of time, but they have a second shooter. That person maybe becomes the primary, and they have a third person who they know and trust and love and have worked with, and they become the secondary shooter. Or maybe you have a florist who something happens, they get injured, and they can pass off their work to somebody else who they know and love and can achieve a similar style. This is definitely something to be thinking about and asking about. And those people who are doing their job really well will already have thought through this. But good thing to chat about, because like I said before, communication is key. Just talk about those backup plans.
right. And I mean, it isn't, I mean, hopefully like you're, when you hire someone, you're counting on things to go to plan. So like the likelihood of them having some sort of emergency where they can't actually be there for your day it's probably pretty unlikely. But at the very least, you want the vendors that you're working with to be able to have some sort of answer for you if you ask a question about backups like that. Right. It would be a major red flag if you say like, do you have some sort of backup plan just in case there's like some emergency situation? And if they're, they come up blank and what do you mean? No, that's not a great answer. So, Red flag number 5, I am so passionate about this one. They don't have a professional website. So my background is in branding and website design in the wedding industry too. So I'm like really passionate about having a great website. So vendors and business owners anywhere of any kind, take this as a piece of advice. Not having a website or having a website that's super out of date, like you haven't touched it in a long time, can make potential customers count you out immediately. I am one of those people for sure, but I do have probably like extra weight just because of like my like personal background, like working in that space. But for me, and just like the way that the world works nowadays, everything is really online. So having a website to explore means that they will have all of the necessary information there. So it is one thing for them to have a great social media presence. Maybe you see their personality through their social media, and that's really great. They display their work on there. But you should be able to have a concrete place to reference for those important things like pricing and what their availability looks like. Do they travel for weddings? If you need them to travel, do they have travel fees listed? So this is where you'll be able to find all of those different details that you may not, probably can't find on social media. It also can help you feel extra confident in the person that you're hiring, because aside from those like logistical details that they should have listed on a place like their website, you might also find like a full portfolio of the work that they've done that's even more complete than their social media. And you also might be able to find out more about them. They might have shared their story there in a way that's like super concise, and you might find a connection in that. So yes, and if it really says a lot too about the vendor or the business owner that you're looking at, if they have invested their time and energy into having a professional website, it means that they take themselves seriously and they take their services seriously, which is a really big deal. So yeah, someone who has made this investment and has put the time into having a website in place that's up to date and represents them well, it's likely that you can count on them to do a professional job in like the work that they're delivering to you. So
Yes. Kind of like what you were saying leads into the next red flag, which is there is no clear portfolio of their work. And I am excited to talk about this one because I know someone who's currently planning their wedding and booked their photographer because they had a website. Like that was like the only, she was like, oh, well, they have a website. And I was like, okay,
check. Step 1.
like that, yeah, step
Look
1,
further.
that's good. But we should also look at their portfolio of work and really dig into that portfolio. Look at whatever they have on their website. Look at whatever they have on Instagram. They are going to post the best of their work. They're going to post the best of the best. And if you've listened to some of our other episodes, you know that sometimes even when they post the best of the best and you look at their portfolio, they still might not have experience with indoor photography. They may not have experience with outdoor or what, like portrait photography or like whatever it is. If you're looking for something specific, make sure that they can do that. Make sure you look through that portfolio. Other things to look out for in this is to make sure it's recent work, not stuff that they did like 5-10 years ago. And honestly, I always think of looking at, just like Chelsea thinks about websites, I think about social media. I look at their social media as a portfolio of sorts. Probably because I'm a social media manager. Like I love this kind of thing. So that's like my realm of work. If they don't have a social media, that is also could be a red flag under this. Like you can't see the fullness of their portfolio, or for some reason they're not sharing their work. That's really weird. And that doesn't just have to go for photographers and videographers. I know I keep saying this, but they do a lot of visual work. And so that's kind of the nature behind that. But even like you have a caterer who's not really posting food stuff. Maybe they're posting other stuff. That'd be weird. Or if you have a florist who's posting a lot of things for like funeral flowers or like just different like specialty occasion arrangements and not wedding flowers, something to be aware of. Make sure the style matches what you want. Make sure the work is recent. Make sure you go through all of their portfolio work, looking at those details. And if you don't see what you're looking for, you can always ask them to see if they have more. But just making sure that they have that work on display, because if they don't, that could be a red flag. They may be hiding it for some reason, or they may not have a lot of experience in that area. And again, like we've said before, if they don't have experience, that's okay. That's one thing. Maybe they're branching out into a new area, but they should communicate that with you. And if they're not communicating that with you, that seems weird.
Yeah, I mean, the portfolio piece is seriously so important. You need to make sure that you're checking out the portfolio because all of those boxes might have been checked. They might have a website. They might have great reviews. You might have heard like good word of mouth things like through personal connections that you have. But like Caroline said, if it doesn't match the style that you're looking for, then you shouldn't go with that person. You should find someone whose work really connects with the style that you're going for. Like, for example, if you're looking at a photographer whose portfolio is mainly like really bright and colorful and your style is more like moody, like they're not going to change their editing style for you. And if they did, like they don't want to do, like that's just, you need to find someone who represents exactly what you're looking for. And also, like Caroline said, you can always ask them if they have more of a portfolio to see if you're not seeing recent work displayed in different areas. And it might just be that they haven't gotten around to updating their portfolio, which is understandable and okay. But if you do have to ask, like just like, you know, keep all of these things in the back of your head, you know?
100%.
Okay. And the last red flag that we're going to mention is probably the biggest red flag of all, and it's that you have a bad gut feeling. So always trust your gut. Like another life rule, something to live by. If you are feeling like something is off in any way, it like really is the biggest red flag, especially if like usually what happens, okay, when something is not good is that you see something small and you kind of, okay, like a little red flag, maybe an orange flag. And then you see something else and your wheel is starting to turn about it. Like, so then you're starting to get that bad gut feeling. If that's happening, stop.
Yes.
Go in a different direction. So, like, did they speak to you in a rude way? Did they make you feel bad? Does their portfolio not live up to your expectations? Would you have a bad time if in real life you just like went and hung out with them and got a cup of coffee? Like, would you have like a bad time? Then like probably you don't want to work with this person. You're gonna pay them probably a lot of money, and they're gonna be a part of, if they're not there at your wedding day, they're a part of your whole celebration, your whole planning journey. So yes, yeah, if something doesn't feel right, there are lots of vendors in varying styles in every category out there. There really are. So
Yeah.
you'll be able to find someone else that doesn't make you scared.
Yeah, and sometimes it's really hard to trust these gut feelings when you're going through this process, because likely this is the first time you have planned a wedding, and so it's hard to know what to expect. But that's exactly why we wanted to do this episode, to talk about some of these red flags. And these are not all of the red flags you may experience, so please let us know if there are some that you've experienced and that you want to share with us, so that everybody can be a part of this and know everything that they should be looking out for. Because yes, we wanted to try and give you as comprehensive of a list as possible, but we know that your experiences are also something that's so valid and important in this experience, and we want to make sure that everybody who is a part of the Guide Gals podcast community has that information.
Yeah. And one more point on red flags, okay? Like, I am the kind of person, and Caroline is too, that when we have a to-do list, we want to check things off and we want to get them done. So I understand that, like, even amongst red flags, you might be like, you know what? I need to get this done. I need to get it squared away.
Yeah.
Like, we're just going to move forward. You don't have to. Like, maybe you don't. Like, maybe it's a better idea. Like, trust your gut feeling once again and don't move forward with someone who gives you a bad vibe. But yes, if you have other red flag experiences that you've gone through, sorry if you did, that differ from the stuff we've mentioned in today's episode, please let us know. Or if you have stories that pertain to anything like this, we would love to hear them. We love hearing from you guys. And you can always reach out on Instagram. You can find us at the Guide Gals Podcast there. You can also reach out to us on our website if you have questions for us or want to share anything. We are at theguidegalspodcast.com. On our website, you can find our full episode library. You can also find lots of free resources. So we have a bunch of free downloadable planning worksheets that you can use. It's really easy. You just click a button and you're able to download them and print them off on your own. And you can also find us on TikTok at the Guide Gals Pod. We post some fun behind the scenes stuff there and on Instagram. So follow us along there. And you can listen to us wherever you get your podcasts. And also, we are on YouTube too. So if you're listening, there is a visual episode. You can find all of this on our website, but on YouTube, we are on the Here Comes the Guide YouTube channel.
Yes.
Yeah. So if you are watching on YouTube though, please like and subscribe. That helps us a lot.
A lot.
And yeah, it does as we're trying to grow.
Yes, your support means the world to us. Thank you so much for listening, watching. My camera just died, so if you're watching, just know that I'm a blank screen now. But that's okay, because we're at the end of the episode anyways. So until next time, cheers!
Cheers.